Alexander Acosta. Senator Lamar Alexander needs zero introduction. And Tennessee Commerce and Insurance Commissioner Julie McPeak. We're also pleased to have with us Lieutenant Governor Senator Becky Massey and Second Representative Jimmy Matlock. That's a trouble name. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Senator Alexander, who will introduce guests after his remarks. So, having said he needs no introduction, I'll have to give him an introduction. The Senator is a seventh generation Tennessean born and raised in Maryland. He served in the state for 2 terms as governor and set the state on its path to becoming the automobile manufacturing and his recruiting of GM and Nissan to the state. And he started the whole ball rolling. Senator Alexander went on to serve as president of the University of Tennessee and U.S. Secretary of Education under George Bush first. He was first elected to the Senate in 2002 and has been re-elected twice. His Republican colleagues, and this is not insignificant, elected him 3 times to be the chairman of the Tennessee Republican Congress. He's here today largely because of his role as chairman of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, where he has worked tirelessly to make health insurance more accessible and affordable to Americans. He and Secretary Acosta will be discussing today a new federal rule that could help many small business and self-employed individuals purchase affordable and quality insurance through affordable association health plans. By the way, those of you who got the call are those people who meet that category. Please join me in welcoming Senator Lamar Alexander.
Thank you, Mike Edwards. One of the rules of Lamar Alexander's little plaid book is, if you want a standing ovation, see a few friends in the front row. Thank you. And Mike, thanks to you, as the chamber, for putting this together on short notice, and thanks to all of you for coming. As I looked around and saw the orange, I was thinking about John Ward. They asked me what I thought about him this week when I died. I thought of many, many things, but the first thing I thought of was that I think most of us thought listening to John Ward call a ball game was as good as going to the game. And some people took their radios to the game to make sure they did both. He was a wonderful ambassador, bringing a lot of joy into our lives, and especially in the East Tennessee area. I have the privilege of introducing the, let me recognize the Lieutenant Governor, Senator Massey, Jimmy Matlock, former Victor Ashe, and so many others of you who are here. I have the privilege of introducing the United States Secretary of Labor, who is a very skilled leader, very competent, someone I've come to know well and respect. He's here to talk about lowering the cost of health insurance. Over the last several years, under the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, insurance premiums gone up in Tennessee about 176%. Lots of people simply can't afford to buy insurance. A self-employed contractor making $70,000 or $80,000 a year might be paying $15,000 or $20,000 a year for insurance. Small businesses, which is what we're here to talk about today, find it burdensome and expensive, and in many cases drop their insurance, and so their employees don't have insurance. I've worked for several months to try to reduce that cost, and was extremely disappointed when earlier this year some of my colleagues in the Senate pulled the rug out from under an effort that the President and I and others have worked on that would have lowered the cost of insurance by 40% over the next 3 years, according to independent analysis. That's why I'm so glad to see this new rule that President Trump and Secretary Acosta are announcing. This is not a legislative proposal, this is a rule. And in other words, it can take effect very shortly, and Secretary Acosta will talk about it. It does not have to be approved by the United States Congress. He'll tell you more about it, but what it basically does is to say that the employees of the mom and pop business ought to have access to the same kind of insurance that the employees of IBM or Amazon or big businesses have. 160 million of us get insurance on the job, about half of us. Usually we like that insurance, and it's a good deal cheaper, and it has the same quality protection such as pre-existing condition that we want. And so what Secretary Acosta has is a plan offering that same lower cost insurance, those same protections to employees of small businesses. Alex Acosta's parents immigrated from Cuba. They did that to find opportunities for their sons. He was the first in his family to go to college. He was a Republican member of the National Labor Relations Board, Assistant Attorney General of the United States Department of Justice. He was U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. He was a law school dean at Florida International University. So you see, he came to this job well prepared, and he's demonstrated that in a year and a half because he's moved rapidly. He's come up with a rule that's written in the law that should be affirmed by the courts. It should be available to have thousands of Tennesseans have lower cost insurance with the same protections that employees of big companies have. It's my privilege to welcome to Knoxville and introduce the United States Secretary of Education, Alexander Acosta.
Good morning and thank you all. First, I just want to emphasize that these concepts are really team efforts. And Commissioner McPeak, who's here with us and will be speaking shortly, was a part of this team as president of the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. She provided comments and thoughts as we were writing this rule. And we at the Department of Labor worked very, very closely with her and her colleagues to ensure that state insurance commissioners had a proper role in regulating for fraud and for solvency to make sure that these are solid operations. And I also want to thank Senator Alexander, Chairman Alexander, for those that know the Senate well. He has been such a leader in the healthcare area, and again, as this rule was being written, we consulted with the expertise of him and his staff and others to ensure that this was a very thoughtful and thought-through proposal. But here's the point. This is no longer a proposal. This is now a rule, part of the federal regulatory structure. So chambers of commerce across the nation can now move forward. And I'm happy to say that the Chamber of Commerce of Las Vegas just yesterday announced that they are moving forward with this, and it's my hope that chambers of commerce like this one will, after listening to this proposal, consider whether they want to offer this for their particular members. And so here's what this is about. As the Senator mentioned, millions and millions of Americans are finding they no longer have access to health care because it has just gotten too expensive. In fact, approximately 15 million small businesses, employees, and their families no longer have access to health care through their employer because the employer has simply found that it is too expensive. More and more small businesses are dropping health care coverage. The question is why? Well, small businesses have far less stable risk pools. They're much smaller, so they cannot spread the risk. Small businesses don't enjoy economies of scale. When mom and pop donut shop calls an insurance company, they don't sit down and negotiate. They accept whatever price is given to them. Small businesses are not permitted to self-insure. And most of all, small businesses are actually subject to more stringent regulation under the Affordable Care Act than the large companies. Small businesses are subject to mandates and requirements under Obamacare that big businesses are not. This to me is backward. If anything, small businesses should be subject to the same level of regulation or lower regulation, but certainly not greater regulation. And so the concept behind the association of health plans is very simple. What if all the small businesses in this room could come together under the Chamber of Commerce? What if all the small businesses that are members of the Chamber could come together and as a group negotiate health care in the same way as a large company? Imagine the scale, the bargaining power. Imagine the administrative savings because you can spread the administrative costs across all the small businesses. And what if that association can access the health coverage market under the same rules as the large companies? The same protections and the same rules. And that's what association health plans are really about. It's about empowering small businesses to form groups and bargain as a larger entity for better health care that is more affordable. Pre-existing condition restrictions continue to apply. Association health plans can't discriminate based on health status. They can't deny based on pre-existing conditions. The same rules as currently protecting employees of large companies would protect the employees of the small businesses involved in association health plans. But all of the regulatory burdens that are imposed on small businesses but not the large companies would no longer apply because the association health plan would behave like a large company. And so this is very straightforward, and it's going to save a lot of money. As we receive comments from the general public, comment after comment tried to estimate the savings. In general, the comments said $2,000 to $3,000 savings per employee for small businesses. And the rule allows sole proprietors to join these as well. Sole proprietors are small businesses. And for the sole proprietors in the individual markets, the estimates are a savings of $8,000 a year or more. And so the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office has looked at this rule, and they estimate that about 4 million Americans will receive health care coverage through association health plans. They estimate that chambers of commerce across the nation, or industry associations across the nation, as they look at this, will start offering these plans, and that 4 million Americans will join, including 400,000 Americans that currently do not have health coverage. That's transformative. So I'm very happy to be here today speaking to all of you. This is the first Chamber of Commerce that I have spoken to about this, but it's not going to be the last, because we need to support our small businesses. We need to give them the bargaining power to negotiate better deals on behalf of their employees for health care. And Association of Health Plans will do just that. And so I'm very happy to be here, and I'm happy to answer questions and have this discussion. Thank you very much.
Secretary, we too are delighted that you chose Knoxville as your first visit with its Chamber of Commerce. Now, Tennessee's proud to have the annual president of State Insurance Commissioners, and that's particularly relevant here because Association Health Plans, which is what he just described, has been around for a while. Sometimes they've had problems of liquidity and solvency. But in 1983, the Congress gave to the state commissioners of insurance, like you, McPeak, the responsibility for liquidity and solvency. So that's her job, and she does her job very well. She's respected not only by people here, and Governor Haslam, obviously, because he appointed her, but by her colleagues all across the country. She's been of huge help to me as we try to work through lowering healthcare costs in Tennessee. She's testified twice before the Senate's Health Committee and consulted us in a variety of ways. She's come to Knoxville today to be a part of this and to answer your questions as they come up afterwards. So let's welcome Julie McPeak, Commissioner.
pleasure to be with you, and thank you, Chairman Alexander, for that warm introduction. I'm so pleased to be part of this event with Secretary Acosta and you today. I also do need to thank you on behalf of all Tennesseans for your leadership on health insurance matters over the last 2 years. As the chairman mentioned, the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions held a series of hearings and actually a number of other meetings with senators across the aisle talking about health policy matters, and I was honored to testify before the committee on 2 occasions and really tried to serve as a resource to senators as they were considering legislation that could affect the health insurance market in Tennessee and nationally. The dedication of Tennessee families and business is really very much appreciated. And I also want to start my comments with thanking Secretary Acosta as well, because we have had the opportunity to interface and discuss health insurance issues and many other policy matters several times over even the last year. So I've enjoyed the opportunities to visit with you as well, Secretary, and I look forward to working with you in the future on this rule. As the chairman mentioned, the Commerce and Insurance Department is responsible for the oversight of insurance companies, plans, and agents across our state. And while the final rule was just published this week, and we need to continue to evaluate the Association Health Plan rule, I do have initial observations that I'm happy to share with you and its effect on the businesses and individuals in Tennessee. Probably most importantly, the rule clearly states that all association health plans are multiple employer welfare arrangements, and therefore state authority to regulate those plans is preserved. And I have to point out, Secretary Acosta received a lot of comments from stakeholders encouraging him to preempt state regulation and make this a federal first approach on insurance. I think we have experience in Tennessee, and particularly in this area, how that has turned out, and so I'm very much appreciative that the Secretary preserved state insurance oversight of these arrangements. So the rule requires that for an association health plan to sell to a member, the AHP must meet state requirements. And that is particularly important for us in Tennessee because we have had some issues with some MIWAs in the past. But I will tell you, we have also had some association health plans that have worked very well. And I see some individuals from the Tennessee Farm Bureau here. They have had very strong association health plans actually throughout healthcare reform and the Affordable Care Act implementation. And that says to me that Tennesseans have always remained very interested in choosing their level of coverage and having the appropriate premium assessed to them, even in times where an individual mandate penalty was going to be assessed to those members. That has been a very strong plan, and I think it continues to be so today. And so I think it says to me, Tennesseans, and then under this rule that Secretary Acosta has just established, a lot of individuals in the nation really want to have another option from individual exchange coverage through the ACA. I do want to say Tennessee has 3 active MIWAs right now. 2 have been formed fairly recently, one by the Tennessee Dental Association and one by the Tennessee Homeowners Association. And we had one that was existing for a few years now that provides benefits to members of Tennessee's Independent Colleges and Universities Association. So these MIWAs do provide health insurance in addition to the Tennessee Farm Bureau plan. And I want to just encourage you, if you are considering pursuing opportunities under this new rule, to please talk with us at the department, because we are happy to work with you in any regard to answer your questions about developing a MIWA, or if you just want to pursue that. It really is beneficial to have some of those discussions at the front end. I do want to say that this rule does bring attention to an important health insurance option and interest for Tennessee businesses and families, particularly in this area. And I know that many of you have seen me speak about accessibility and affordability in Tennessee generally, but you have been some of the hardest hit here in Knoxville, which is another reason I'm so pleased to be here today to talk about the rule and the opportunities. Because I do see in Tennessee that we're going to have some additional options available. I don't think we're going to have any bare counties for 2019, and I think we're going to even see a reduction in the number of counties that have one option, but this is going to be an additional option for Tennessee consumers and small businesses and individuals. And you're going to be able to tailor coverage and be rated for that coverage very differently than what has been available in the past. So we're very excited to work with anyone that is interested in pursuing opportunities under this rule, and I just want to thank you again, Chairman and Secretary, for allowing me to be part of a significant event. So thank you very much.
I made a gross omission earlier in my introduction to recognition. Former senator, former mayor, former ambassador, was sitting right there, pretty direct. And he served this city and country very well, and I wish I had been able to introduce him while he was still here. We turn now to Main Street. We want you to listen to two businesses that we think are very representative of what has been explained. First, I'd like to introduce Jill Green, co-owner of BGT. BGT Recruiting. BGT is a woman-owned, veteran-owned small business that recruits corporate level candidates for companies and nonprofits. This is BGT. BGT won the Pinnacle Award this year for demonstrating excellence in business practices, and therefore a great person for you to hear from, Jill Green.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you having me and giving me the opportunity to speak, and thank you all for all the hard work you're doing on our behalf. I'd like to say a few words on from two different points of perspective. First, as a business owner, my business partner and I started our firm 6 years ago. One of the biggest challenges we've faced and continue to face is accessibility of healthcare so that we can offer it for ourselves but also to our employees, and then the cost of that. That was expressly evident this year when we looked at our new plans for this year. As a small business, our health insurance costs run between 14 and 20% of annual revenues. And that's significant when we're trying to support our families and support our employees. The number of options, as I said, have become more and more limited. And this year when we got our renewal rates, it was a somber few minutes in our office this year. So I just did want to speak from that perspective because we want to come out, we want to be successful, we want to offer things to our employees to keep us competitive so that we can keep the talent within our firm so that we can go out and produce in our market. And that's just something very important to us. And it'll be an ongoing issue if we don't do something about that. I'd like to speak also from the perspective as a professional recruiter. I focus primarily here in East Tennessee. And I see every day how hard it is for smaller companies to be competitive with larger employers. I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten a candidate excited about going into a company and then we see the healthcare benefits and they just can't justify the cost, or if they're even offered. So a lot of times the options become limited and they have to go to a larger organization. And here in Knoxville, we have such an incredible population of small businesses here that do so many things for our community and for the employees that work for them. And we certainly want to make sure that they have access to the talent that the bigger companies have, because the talent pool continues to be a real challenge there. So from both perspectives, I'd love to see some of these improvements. Again, thank you so much for all your hard work. And again, I appreciate you having me in for allowing me to speak.
Next, I'd like to hear from Jennifer Roach, Government Affairs Director for the Knoxville Area Association of Realtors. More than 3,500 realtors in 12 counties are members of KAAR. The organization obviously is a very important part of this economy, very important part of Knoxville Chamber. And yeah.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here as kind of a local representative for our National Association of Realtors, and I spoke with some of their staff, and they extend their thanks to everyone here for getting to where we are today. About a couple years ago, I had a broker of a large firm here in Knoxville come to me and she said, "Jennifer, I think you might know something about this or be able to help me. I've got realtors in my office who are uninsured, and I just lost 2 more to 9-to-5 jobs because they need health insurance." And I said, well, I can't help you yet, but I know NAR is working on it. So it's extremely, she was my first call, and she was extremely excited that we're here at this step today. But it's not just realtors, it's every trade profession in the real estate transaction that has this problem of rising deductibles and insurance premiums. In our association, we're actually up to, I'll give you some recent numbers, we're up to over 4,400 members across 12 counties. That's my
Dues are going up.
Those members are not just realtors, but mortgage loan originators, contractors, remodelers, surveyors, appraisers, everybody involved in the real estate transaction. And they're all independent contractors, they're all skilled professionals in their trades. And if we keep losing these skilled professionals to 9-to-5 jobs or to places where they have to find coverage from an employer, buyers and sellers and our economy is going to lose out. So that's why today's announcement isn't just a win for us, it's a win for all of our property owners, all of our clients, for this crazy real estate market that we're in. There's still a lot of work to do, but we're excited about all the work that's been put in, all the diligent, detailed work into this rule. And it's a big step in the right direction for expanding health insurance coverage for our realtors. It's going to put money back into the small businesses, into the over 500 small businesses that we represent. And I just want to thank you again from the local association perspective to Senator Alexander and Secretary Acosta. This is an important part of your work and will be a great part of your legacy. Thank you.
So it's now time for you get to ask these guys questions. Jerry, there's a phone call for you. Jerry.
I represent 300 nonprofits in the region, and just wondering if nonprofits are eligible to be part of these association plans.
So the way we have set this up, all businesses are eligible. We are leaving it to the local chambers and the industry groups to define the terms of their membership. And so if nonprofits are eligible to join the chamber, then nonprofits are eligible to join a chamber association. If there is a Knoxville Association of Nonprofits, the Knoxville Association of Nonprofits could offer association comp plan. Here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to offer flexibility. And we are trying to encourage associations to come together either by industry or by geography to offer more options. We're not taking away any options. The commissioner mentioned that there were 3 pre-existing MIWAs. We are grandfathering the prior rules, but the prior rules were much more restrictive. So even for those that pre-exist, we're not taking anything away. We're just offering an additional option that provides greater flexibility in how small businesses or other groups can come together. And so if there isn't an association of nonprofits and you don't have another option, maybe you can start with them. Sir.
Do these plans, are there multi-state options on these plans? If an association has an international or national presence, can we have a single plan that has a national application?
There are some, so associations can come together by city, county, state, or multi-state metropolitan area where cities cross state lines. Associations can also come together by industry nationwide. So for example, the National Association of Realtors could form an association for all realtors nationwide. And you know, I've at least heard that the association's already starting to look at that for realtors. And so the answer to your question is yes, if they're organized by industry group. Sir.
Other than being a member of the chamber, are there any other qualifications for the business?
And so again, we're leaving it to the associations to determine that. The chamber may look at this and say, rather than one plan for all members, we may want to subdivide and offer different plans for different types of members. That is between you and your local association. What we are saying, here's what we're saying. The Department of Labor has jurisdiction over ERISA, over employee benefits. We are saying that for purposes of providing employee benefits, associations of small businesses organized by geography or by industry nationwide can behave as if they were a large business. How those associations are formed are a matter of local control.
Can the plans be fully insured or self-insured?
Again, if the answer is yes, but I want to go back to the concept because the concept, I think, helps answer so many questions. All that we're saying is that the small businesses can come together and offer benefits as if they were a large company. If the large company can be self-insured, the association can be self-insured. If the large company cannot be self-insured under the state rules, and that is to some extent a question for Commissioner McPeak, then they could not. Whatever large companies can do, the association can do as a general matter. And also, whatever protections large companies must give to their employees, associations must give to their employees. It's pretty straightforward. The association can operate like a large company.
Let me ask a question. If someone wanted technical advice about how to get started, where would they go?
So there are a few places that someone could go. You could certainly come to the Department of Labor, and either we could help you or we could point you in the right direction. I would suggest that you should also speak with your local local insurance commissioner's office or call the state insurance commissioner's office.
What about Julie?
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah, we're happy to talk with anyone that would like some technical assistance. We do allow associations or large employers to self-insure or to be fully insured. You might want to look at both options to see which one might make the most sense for you. I have with me today several members of my staff that are very much technical experts in this area as well. Michael Humphreys, who's Assistant Commissioner, and Lori Browse, my General Counsel, and Brian McCormack, my Deputy Commissioner. So all of us are very anxious to have conversations with you, talk through options. You may want to explore several different permutations before you decide on one, but we're very anxious to help you do that.
That's the reason I said, I think that's the easiest place to go. They work, the state can work with the Department of Labor and make sure that it works.
Yes.
That was exactly my question. I'm here on behalf of the veterinarians in Tennessee and across the country. And we had a health insurance program that started in 1954 that provided tremendous high-quality insurance to veterinarians across the
And it
country.
probably stopped right around 12-14.
2013. We have heard from our members over and over and over, when are we going to get back into this space? And we are very excited, and we thank you very much. And that was my question was, there's a lot of information in the rule about oversight of the organization, and it's a little different than how we would have had it structured before as a membership association. And so that was really my question, is if there would be guidance that comes out, or if we should just go straight to the insurance commissioners to make sure we dot our i's and cross our t's the right way.
So there are two types, broadly speaking, of associations. One would be geographic associations. And those geographic associations should go to the insurance commissioner of the geographic state that they're in. The second type, if the National Association of Veterinarians is looking to do this, or the National Association of Realtors, then you should probably look at where your headquarters are or where your lead state would be. There's a concept of lead state for national associations. Where is most of your organization headquartered, and they could look, and at the national level, they know how to do this. They would then talk to the insurance commissioner within that lead state as to how to set that up. But let me sort of emphasize, these have been around. The Las Vegas Chamber, when they decided to restart them, made the point that they had had these for years and years. And much like the Association of Veterinarians and perhaps others, these were stopped somewhere around 2013, 2014, because the rules changed. And so we are conceptually going back and saying, look, all these small groups can come together and they can access health coverage just like every large company can. It's not fair to say large companies can do it one way, but small companies or veterinarians' offices or dentists have to do it in a different, more expensive way.
Yes.
Hi, my name's Jeff Roth. I'm the owner of a small business here in Knoxville, construction. And Senator Alexander, I want to thank you, and Secretary Acosta, thank you for your efforts in getting this SHP thing moving. As you know, we've been battling this for a long time. Back when Senator Chris was in the Senate, we almost got it done then, it was very close. And my question is this is going to be a rule. Is this an executive order? This is going to be a rule, and are we still pursuing this through our legislative bodies as well?
Well, this is, the president, through executive order, asked me to look at how to address these issues. I went through what's called notice and comment rulemaking, so this is now a rule that is part of what is called the Code of Federal Regulations. It's probably would take up that entire wall over there. And so this is now a rule that is in place. It is a legal interpretation of federal law. I would defer to the senator as to the question on legislation.
He's the dean of the law school. The bottom line, let me go to the negative side of this, so you're not surprised by anything, because usually when something good comes out, you want to know, well, what's the other side of the story? That's one side. The answer to your question is, this is a rule that has the force of law. So it is a law. Congress does not have to do anything. Congress may overturn it. An administration may write a different rule. I assume the Trump administration, once it writes a rule, won't change its rule unless there's some defect in it. But it is a law. So the Congress does not have to do a single thing, although it can overturn. It has the effect of law. Now, one of the problems might be that someone who doesn't like it, some people have elevated Obamacare to the next book of the Bible. You can't change a wording. The secretary is a former dean of a law school and a very good lawyer, and he resisted the temptation to go beyond what the law allows him to do. So my view is he's well within what the Affordable Care Act and other laws allow him to do. And while he's likely to be challenged in court by people who don't want any change in the insurance laws, I think he'll win. So there could be a court challenge, but he was very wise and he stayed within the law. That's the one thing. The second thing, and Julie might say more about this if she needs to, some associations have had trouble with solvency and liquidity. And there was a choice between, does the federal government preempt that and take it all to the Department of Labor in Washington and hire 2,000 or 3,000 people to regulate it? Or do you recognize the right of commissioners like Julie to have that responsibility? What this does is say solvency and liquidity is important. We don't want some fly-by-night outfit to get a lot of members and get broke. Well, that's right. So she does that already. So solvency and liquidity, there's a way to deal with that. And then the other thing you'd like to hear is, well, this takes away the patient protections. He said it several times. It's important to say, if you're an employee of Tennessee Eastman Chemical, you'll have the same protections if you're an employee of a 10-employee company in Maryville that you would that the employee of Tennessee Eastman has. The law, and half of us get insurance on the job. 160 million Americans. Congress has put protections on those, including pre-existing condition and the others you mentioned. Those are all there. We think they're fine. We 160 million people. Our costs are lower, and we have those protections. That's what he proposes to give employees of businesses with 50 employees. So those are the negatives, and I think the negatives are pretty minor.
Mr. Secretary, all right, one more question, Bruce.
Just wondering, how are the insurance companies reacting to this? I was thinking it's a really good thing, and wanting to market it in a positive way. Is that the reaction?
Well, I can respond.
Yeah.
Well, the insurance companies, I think, are looking at it as another opportunity. I mean, I think, back to Secretary Acosta's point about the rules changing right around 2012, 2013, that was really pushing small employers into the individual market, which we know hasn't worked out so well. So this is moving us back to a place where small employers and self-insured individuals can be treated more like the large employee group. So I think the insurance companies are looking at it as another opportunity, particularly for those fully insured options. I will tell you, there are some consumer groups that believe that it will take good risk out of the exchange market and really destabilize the exchange market. And, you know, I have some pretty well-known quotes about the exchange market and how that's functioning already. And I would just say to you, you know, we have folks that are uninsured now because of affordability. And so any option that can create a level of coverage that people can access and can actually afford and provides good benefits to them, I'm in favor of that. And really, as I said before, we've had the Tennessee Farm Bureau Plan working in the exchange market throughout our experience in Tennessee, and I don't feel like they have siphoned off the good risk. They have had very common experience with other insurers in the market.
Mr. Secretary, Senator, Commissioner, thank you so much. Thank you for making us the first chamber that you visited. Our chamber is 150 years old, starting in January, and the only reason we exist is to help our members in the business community to grow and prosper. That's why we do economic development. That's why we do workforce development. And that's why it's so important that this executive order and this rule has come down the pipe. And it's very important for chambers, including this one, to really focus on this because it will help. We got 2,300 members plus a whole lot more out there that really needs this. Thank you guys very much. Oh, by the way, they're more than happy. They're going to stay around if you want to talk to them and ask them more questions. Thanks. Thank you.